welcome back to the Positively Craig YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me once again. Yes, we're back on the road and we're back out making videos again. Yeah, today's topic's really an important one. It's basically, we're going to cover the topics of if you do drive to work, how does your morning start and how does it work out in regards to, are you tired, do you get road rage? We're going to cover a couple of topics here where where obviously if you're on the way to work, it's sometimes if it's a trip that you're doing all the time, or whether it's it's a particularly busy morning, it's basically how we deal with this. So yeah, let's have a look at some of the reasons why our trips to work can be a little bit tough. Okay, so yes, we're basically on our way to work, and one of the things that I want to cover, and something that I know is can be quite prevalent to a lot of people, because I drive on the motorways, I also see a lot of accidents. I see a lot of people with the fender benders and crashes and people who've not been leaving the right stopping distances and all that. And it makes me think about something that was said to me years ago. I got some good advice from my dad once, and it was like, when you're driving to work, if you do this drive and you do it hundreds of times, thousands of times, and it's the same route, you take the same route, you're on the same motorways, you're doing the same thing at the same time of day, you can sort of go into like an autopilot of driving. And it's one of those things that you can sort of like switch off a little bit because you're so used to automatically taking the turns, extra laid off what sort of, how long it's going to take you, just with the general type of traffic, and paying attention when you're doing the same journey all the time. Paying attention is one thing that sometimes you can sort of be lax in, something you're not paying attention to. These can cause like little accidents, you're so complacent because you're so used to the same journey. So one of the things that I want to cover is make sure that, if you are driving to work, that even though it might be the same journey you've been doing every day and nothing changes, that you do keep paying attention. It's hard to sort of like, not just fall into that usual, right, it's this time in the morning and things are going to just go the same, and I'm going to be in the traffic, and then I'm going to get to work, and then you can get distracted easily because you can be thinking about what am I going to do when I get to work, what I'm going to do when I get to whatever destination. Obviously I'm talking about work, but it could be like, you could be going to college, university, you could be going to visit friends, family, but it's a journey that you're so used to doing that you can switch off a little bit. So make sure that you are always keeping your head up, keeping yourself focused on the roads, focused on the surrounds around you, because it only takes one thing. You might travel 1,000 times and it's just mundane, it's no different to any other, and you're flying along, and it only takes one idiot or one person to just pull out rapidly, not looking, somebody who's not concentrating because they're in such a rush to get to work, and the next thing you know, wham, you crash into somebody, or they crash into you, or something bad can happen, and it's just it's so easily done. But you've got to be switched on, you've got to be on the ball. So yeah, make sure that you are trying to keep the wits about you when you're driving to work. I know this is quite a positive video, but you need to stay switched on. You know what I mean? If anything, you want to be able to make it home at the end of the night in one piece. So yeah, as much as you can get distracted, don't get distracted. Stay vigilant and make it home safe. Second thing I want to cover today, in regards to having the right state of mind, is, are you one of these people who suffers from road rage? We're always, you could be the safest driver in the world, then you've got people who are not signalling, people who are changing lanes, people who are just cutting you up on the way to work, and the natural instinct is to go, you know, from 1 to 0, you know, start mashing the horn, going mental, like, what are you doing, you idiot? Or, you know, mostly words to another effect, if you get me. But you know, road rage is one of the things that a lot of people do deal with, and especially if you're late for work, because this is one of the things that you've got to be really careful about. Is, you know, when I always talk about getting up in the morning, having the right frame of mind, you know, being positive, having the, you know, starting your day the right way, you know, with the right mental attitude. The biggest thing we can fall foul of is if we get up late for work, and, you know, then all of a sudden we've gone from what potentially could just be a nice leisurely morning drive, could turn to a frantic trying to get to work. And this is the dangerous part, because you might be going a little bit faster than you should be going. You know, your mind's on thinking, oh God, you know, oh, I'm hitting traffic, I'm so angry. And next thing you know, somebody cuts you up, so you're going ballistic, and, you know, straight away it can ruin your whole day. Can put you right on the back foot, and from getting up, being positive and being in a real good frame of mind, all of a sudden you're angry, frustrated, you know, you're stressed out, and your day hasn't even started. You're still in your car, and you wound up. You're already pent up. You're stressed. You're angry. You're frustrated. You're worrying about, you know, if I get to work late, you know, what's the boss gonna say? What's, you know, what if I you know, if I'm in charge of a shop, for instance, what if I get there and I can't let the customers in, you know, and they're then starting to get frustrated, and it has a knock-on effect. We're talking about like a butterfly effect of how your day can start. So one of the things that I would suggest, and if you can try to, is try and sort of switch off. You know, we all have that time where we get up late, we get up, you know, we're running a little bit behind, you know, we've had a bit of a rough sleep or something like that, and then we're getting up and we're feeling a bit lazy, we're feeling a bit tired, you know, we might miss our morning coffee because we're in a rush to get out, and that's it, then your whole day is on the wrong foot. And this is what we've got to try and sort of get past sometimes. It's, you know, we're not thinking, we're not concentrating, we're in a bad mood, and, you know, what's that going to do? How's that going to affect our safety? How's that going to affect how our day goes? So if you're rushing around, and if you think about, like right now, I'm surrounded by, say, 20 cars, for instance, on the motorway. You know, what's gone on in these people's lives? We don't know. We don't know if they're late for work. We don't know if they've, you know, been up all night, you know, with a new baby, or, like, you know, watching films, or, you know, on computer games. This is the thing, these people around us could be, you know, 10 times tired than you are, and lax in judgments, and, you know, next thing you know, they're slamming on, or they've had a crash, which then, if you don't, like, watch yourself, you crash into them. All these things have such a negative effect on us if, you know, if we don't start the day right. And that's what this video is about. This video is about starting our day right, and how the wrong start to the day can mess up our whole day, mess up our whole attitude, you know, being tired at work, such like that, being tired at, you know, college, university, wherever we are, and it's such a negative effect. So what this video is sort of getting to is, you know, try to sort of, you know, exercise a bit of self-restraint, a bit more discipline on your part. You know, if you're one of these people who has about 10 snooze alarms, it's a rabbit hole to go down that. You want to sort of try not to do that. Ideally, you want to be able to, you know, get up maybe, if you're not disciplined enough, maybe 2 alarms. Your first one's to get you out of your REM sleep, your deep sleep. Then your second one is like, right, get out of bed, you know, get in that shower, get a wash, wake yourself up, you know, put the kettle on, have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, you know, have a little bit of breakfast, and then, you know, start your day the right way without this mad rushing around. Because the world we live in now is such a busy world. You know, we're all rushing around, we've all got places to be, we've all got limited time. You know, it's hard, especially if you're juggling things like a family and commitments outside of work, and then you've got a long journey, and by the time you get home, it's having that sort of attitude, the right attitude to go, right, okay, you know, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do a bit of cleaning, I've got to cook my tea, I've got to cook for the family. You know, there's all these different things that just can pull us away from, you know, the concentration we can have. So try and sort of discipline yourself a little bit better, do a little bit better when it comes to starting your morning right, because it will make all the difference, and it is what potentially, and not to be too dramatic, but it could save your life. You know what I mean? I'm not being, you know, morbid, I'm not being thing, but it might sound harsh, but if you're not concentrating while you're driving, if you're not paying the right attention, you know, it takes one little mistake or one little moment of, you know, dropping it. If you're feeling tired, the next thing you know, you could be in a crash, and God forbid, you know, it could be something quite serious. So, you know, try to discipline yourself and do a little bit better in the morning. I know that's what I've tried to do. So yeah, maybe have a little look at how you get up in the morning and make some changes. You never know, it might just save your life. I know this is a bit of an off-topic thing, but again, something that, just a quick sort of mention that, like for instance, I drive long distances, as I've said to you in my last video, is take 10 minutes out of your week. 10 minutes. Now if you think about 10 minutes, what could you do in 10 minutes? You could watch a YouTube video, you could, you know, make yourself a sandwich, make yourself a snack, make yourself a cup of coffee. 10 minutes is not much if you think an entire week. Now the reason why I'm saying it's 10 minutes is just do something very simple for me, because it'll benefit you and it'll also save you money in the long run. It's just give your car, if you drive, a little check over. Check your tyre pressures, check your tread, check the water, check your oil. You know, 10 minutes is nothing in a week, where if your oil's running low, if you've not got enough water, your car could overheat. You know, if your tyre pressures are low, you could, you know, get a puncture. Your stopping distance and stuff are affected. You know, if you haven't got enough tread on your car, well, straight away you're looking at a potential risk of not being able to stop properly. But also, if you get pulled by the police, you got some nice fat points on your licence and your insurance goes through the roof. So 10 minutes versus the cost of higher insurance, the cost of your life if you have an accident. If it's wet, it's raining, your stopping distances are rubbish. You know, you could save somebody else's life. What if it's raining and a kid runs out to the street? You know, things like that. So positively do better when it comes to the little things in life, because it can take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute of your life to just check on things in your life. Obviously I've mentioned the car as an example, but checking on your health, checking on your diet, checking on someone else. 10 minutes, a 10-minute phone call to a relative, a 10-minute visit, a 10-minute chat with somebody. You know, if you've got somebody in your life, or a friend, or some people around you, a peer, and you can tell they're off, something's not right about them. You know, their head could be down, they're very quiet. You know, you come into work or go into wherever you are, all of a sudden they're very quiet. Why are they very quiet? You don't know what's going on in their life. So 10 minutes, just say, you know, I don't mean to be rude, I don't mean to interrupt, and, you know, I don't want to invade your privacy, but I've noticed you're not yourself today. What's up? Is there anything I can do to help? And that 10 minutes could be the difference from somebody having a really bad day with the weight of the world on them, that they might talk to you, confide in you, and just ask advice, which is probably, I'd say 99% of the time, is just asking some advice on something. This is going on in my life. Have you got any advice for me? And that could be just the, you know, the thing that person needs. You just don't know. But just give that time, 10 minutes. I'm asking for 10 minutes of your time in an entire week to dedicate yourself to something important. Checking your car, checking your family, checking your friends, checking yourself. Obviously, because, you know, I know a lot of people out there who look after people who are carers, people who are, you know, who are dependent on for other people, or they depend on you to help them out. But if you're not looking after yourself, how are you going to be able to look after them? How are you going to be able to dedicate your life to helping somebody if you're burnt out? If you don't take that 10 minutes to assess yourself, have I been eating properly? Am I running around after, you know, potentially after looking after somebody, or running around mad at work, and I'm skipping lunch, I'm skipping breakfast, I'm skipping, you know, going to the doctors, and potentially just getting a checkup on something. Maybe, you know, I don't know, but maybe something is bothering you, and you're putting it off, you're putting it off. You know, trust me when I tell you, putting things off is never a good thing. And if you look back at a lot of my videos, I just touch on the way, I can say this as a man myself, but men are very stubborn. Men are very, you know, I'll do it tomorrow attitudes. I don't know, I used to be a lot like that, and then life taught me a lesson that never put anything off that you could do today that might turn into something tomorrow. So always double check on things, make sure you're healthy, make sure that you're looking after yourself, you're eating right, you're getting enough sleep, you know, you're doing what's best for you. So again, the big point I'm making in this aspect of this video is 10 minutes. If you're telling me you haven't got 10 minutes in your entire week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 10 minutes to just dedicate yourself to something that could be so important that you put it off or overlook it, or just go, nah, whatever, I'll worry about that tomorrow. 10 minutes. Think about what you could do in 10 minutes and how much you could change someone's life, or even change your own. 10 minutes. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'd say this video's been more about sort of how we live our lives on a day-to-day basis. The world is rushing by us at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you know, metaphorically, and it's how we deal with the little things in life, how we deal with our morning journeys, our attitude to life, our forever excuse of, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. You know, the whole 10 minutes thing I've just been talking about. Time to reflect, time to think about, you know, how I should change my behaviours, change my habits, because we're all creatures of habit. We all do things the same way, especially if you get up, you go to work, you come home from work, you eat, you watch a bit of telly, you go to sleep, and it's rinse and repeat, Groundhog Day. And we're just in this sort of this one track thing. But again, 10 minutes, as I said to you before, even if it's 10 minutes to look into a new hobby, start learning how to play an instrument, dead easy. So yeah, I want to say thank you very much for joining me on this video. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. I'm really enjoying this new aspect of my videos, being able to do them whilst I'm in my car. It's definitely given me a lot more time to put more content out. As I said to you in the last video, there's going to be more videos to come which aren't in the car. Obviously some of them will be in the car, but I'm looking to do some out and about. When the weather gets a bit better, you'll start seeing them coming. I'm really looking forward to this new chapter of me starting these videos. As I say, I had quite a long break. It was justified and well needed, and I feel I'm a lot more refreshed, and if anything, I'm more passionate about reaching the audience, reaching out to you guys. You know, I've had some new subscribers off the last video. I want to say a huge thank you to them. You know, it makes all the world's difference to me. I had some great comments on my last video, so Don't forget to leave some nice comments in this one. I do love listening to your comments. I always answer back, or at least acknowledge any messages that I get, because it does mean the world to me. The fact that the people are watching our video, it is reaching the right audience, the right people are watching them, and there's some fantastic people I've met, and people who have subscribed to my channel, friends and strangers, and I want to say thank you to you all. As I say, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Make sure that you're telling people about my videos, because sharing is caring, as they say. Let other people know about these type of videos if they're having a bit of a tough day, or they need a little pick-me-up. Pop my name into their head, show them my channel, get them to subscribe, because you never know, it could be the one thing that just brings their day up. So yeah, I want to say a huge thank you again, and as always, I've been Positively Craig. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.